Time now for Conrad's This Week in Auto History.
Again?
Well, and a good lead-in, because this week in auto history in 1893, Rudolf Diesel received a patent for the diesel engine. You know, diesel engine burns fuel oil rather than gasoline, and it's what's called combustion ignition engines. It doesn't have a spark plug. As the pressure increases inside the combustion chamber, it gets to a point where it ignites the fuel to push the piston down. So that's a picture of one of the very first. It was a single-cylinder diesel. So in 1909, the Hudson Motor Company, founded by Joseph Hudson in Detroit, Michigan, there you go, Jeffrey, was incorporated on this week. Hudson is perhaps most famous for its impact on NASCAR racing, where it accomplished, thanks to its revolutionary, what was called a mono-built design. Today, you would call it a unibody car.
Or ugly.
Well, it may have been ugly, but what was...
Lori Brown's mother in Waukesha, Wisconsin, had a green one of those, and I was never so embarrassed to ride in that car.
And she was unibody, too.
Oh, so ugly. Anyway, go ahead.
But that was one of the things of bringing a unibody car to the track, was made it that much lighter with equal amount of power, so it was faster.
I like it.
In 1919, Oregon became the first state to impose a 1% tax on gasoline, and they haven't stopped since. Every state imposes gasoline taxes on you, collecting funds for what they say.
So what are the states going to do when there is no more gasoline-powered cars?
I don't know. We'll have to ask
tax is going to
Buzz about that.
License plates.
Go ahead.
Because they're supposed to be used for road construction.
Yeah.
We know that's a lie.
Yeah.
But anyhow, in 1935, the Pontiac Indian Maiden mascot was patented by its designers, Chris Klein and Chris Karnstadt. Pontiac, the namesake for General Motors' manufacturing division, was a male war chief in the Ottawa tribe who distinguished himself in his bravery in fighting the English during the French and Indian Wars.
Thank God he wasn't shaking hands with a customer.
That's Hyundai.
In 1948, the Federal Trade Commission issued a restraining order preventing Willys Overland from representing that it had developed the Jeep for World War II.
What you talk about, Willys?
Well, I think that's a shame, because now Jeep is such a brand name that everybody knows, but Willys Overland wasn't allowed to take credit for it back then. And then in 1959, it's kind of difficult to talk about NASCAR without talking about the Daytona 500. The first Daytona 500 was won this week in 1959 by Lee Petty, driving his brand new Oldsmobile 88.
Dun, dun, dun.
And later that year, they transitioned to Plymouth products, and to a large degree, Richard Petty finished his career driving various Plymouth Dodge. I think there was a Ford in there. There was another Oldsmobile back in the mid-'70s as well. So,
is that it?
That was This Week in Auto History.
Thank you, sir. Among the